Hey everyone, and welcome back to another deep dive. We've got a really cool one for you today, exploring some really big ideas.
Yeah, some really grand visions for you.
Yeah, like where we might be headed as like a species and how we can create a brighter future, like not just for ourselves, but for everyone on the planet and even beyond.
Absolutely. And this goes way deeper than just like surface level improvements. It gets into like the core of how we organize society, how we think, how we feel, even our spiritual lives.
Right, like it's a totally holistic picture, and that's what makes it so fascinating to me, at least, because we've been looking at all this source material that lays out this really intricate framework for progress and well-being.
Yeah, and what struck me is how balanced it is. You know, it doesn't just focus on one aspect of human experience, but it emphasizes that for real change to happen, we need to address like all these different dimensions in a harmonious way.
Exactly. So are you ready to dive in with me?
I am absolutely ready. Let's do it.
Okay, cool. So the vision our sources paint is based on this three-part foundation, and this is really the heart of it. So first we have Prout, which stands for progressive utilization theory, and that's all about the socioeconomic side of things. Then we have Neohumanism, which focuses on our like mental and emotional landscape, our thoughts, our feelings. And then finally we have spiritual practices, which tap into that deeper dimension of our being.
And the really interesting thing is how these three pieces aren't separate at all. They actually interlock and fuel each other. It's like a dynamic system where progress in one area actually supports and enhances progress in the others.
Yeah, it's like this beautiful interconnectedness that makes so much sense when you think about it. Like if you're struggling just to survive, like if you're dealing with poverty or injustice, it's pretty hard to focus on your emotional well-being or your spiritual growth, right?
Absolutely. So Prout, for instance, recognizes this, and it aims to create a more just and equitable world for everyone so that we can all have the opportunity to reach our full potential in every aspect of our lives.
So let's start with Prout then. What are the key ideas here that we should understand to see where this all fits in?
Well, at its core, Prout is all about socioeconomic emancipation. It's about moving humanity away from our current imperfections and towards a state of greater perfection. And the way it envisions doing that is through what it calls ever-increasing acceleration in all spheres of existence.
Ever-increasing acceleration. That sounds pretty intense.
It is, but it's also incredibly optimistic. It's basically saying that stagnation isn't the natural state of things. Progress is. We're constantly evolving and growing as individuals and as a society.
So it's like built-in dynamism to the system.
Exactly. And this dynamism needs to be channeled in a way that benefits everyone, not just a select few. And that's where the focus on eliminating disparities comes in.
Okay, so tell me more about that. Like, how does Prout tackle things like inequality and injustice?
Well, one of the key principles of Prout is that everyone should have access to the basic necessities of life. Things like food, water, shelter, healthcare, education. These things shouldn't be privileges. They should be rights.
Makes sense. But what about like deeper forms of inequality, like social discrimination or prejudice? How does Prout address those?
Prout recognizes that these forms of inequality are incredibly harmful both to individuals and to society as a whole. And it advocates for their complete eradication. It even gives a really powerful example, the eradication of the caste system.
Oh, wow. Yeah, that's a huge one. And a really good example of a deeply ingrained system of inequality.
Exactly. And by removing these barriers, Prout aims to create a world where everyone has the opportunity to flourish both materially and spiritually.
So it's about creating a world where everyone can actually pursue that hunger of spirituality that we were talking about earlier, right?
Precisely. Because when you're constantly struggling to meet your basic needs or when you're facing discrimination, it's almost impossible to focus on those deeper aspects of life.
That's so true. Okay, so Prout lays this foundation of socioeconomic justice.
Yeah.
Now, how does neo-humanism build on that?
Well, neo-humanism provides the impetus and the energy for Prout to achieve its goals. It's like the motivational force and the ethical compass that guides us towards a more just and compassionate world.
Okay, I can see that.
Yeah.
But how exactly does it do that? Like, what are the core principles of neo-humanism?
Neo-humanism starts by expanding our circle of compassion. It says that our concern shouldn't be limited to just other human beings. It should encompass all living creatures and even the inanimate world.
Wait, even inanimate objects? Like rocks and rivers and stuff?
Yeah, that might sound a little strange at first, but the idea is that everything in the universe is interconnected. We're all part of this vast web of life, and our actions have an impact on everything around us.
Okay, I'm starting to get it. So neohumanism is about recognizing that interconnectedness and extending our care and compassion to everything.
Exactly. And it lays out a clear hierarchy of priorities. First comes the well-being of human beings, then animals, then plants, and then finally the inanimate world.
So it's not saying that a rock has the same rights as a human being or anything like that.
No, not at all. It's more about recognizing the intrinsic value of everything and treating everything with respect and care.
Okay, that makes sense. So how does this translate into practical action? Like, what are some examples of how we can live in a more neo-humanistic way?
Well, one example is our treatment of the environment. The sources highlight some pretty stark examples of how we humans haven't always been the best stewards of the planet.
Yeah, like destroying natural habitats for resources or polluting the air and water.
Exactly. And neo-humanism calls for a more responsible and sustainable approach. It emphasizes the importance of conservation, utilizing renewable resources, and minimizing our impact on the environment.
That definitely aligns with the idea of extending our care to the inanimate world.
It does. And another key principle of neo-humanism is what's called biospherical empathy.
Biospherical empathy, what does that mean?
It's the understanding that animals just like us experience pleasure and pain, and that we should treat them with compassion and respect.
So it's about recognizing that animals aren't just objects that we can use for our own purposes. They're sentient beings with their own needs and desires.
Exactly. And neo-humanism advocates for a vegetarian lifestyle as well as the creation of sanctuaries for dying and endangered species.
Wow, that's a really beautiful vision of a world where humans and animals can coexist harmoniously.
It is. And on an intellectual level, neo-humanism encourages us to expand our arena of the mind and intellectuality. It's about breaking free from narrow or dogmatic viewpoints and embracing a more inclusive and expansive way of thinking.
So it's like a call for intellectual growth and openness as well.
Exactly. And all of this ultimately leads to a greater sense of well-being, not just for ourselves, but for everyone and everything around us.
Okay, so we've got Prout creating this foundation of socioeconomic justice and neo-humanism, expanding our circle of compassion and our intellectual horizons. Now, where do spiritual practices fit into all of this?
Spiritual practices are the central point of balance in this whole framework. They provide the link between the physical world and the psychic world, and they help us to transcend the limitations of both.
So it's like they're taking us to an even deeper level of understanding and experience.
Exactly. While Prout and neo-humanism address imperfections in the physical and psychic realms, spiritual practices help us to connect with something far greater than ourselves.
And the sources talk about this ultimate aim of achieving the supreme stance in Parama Purusha. What exactly does that mean?
It's a state of complete inner composure and profound spiritual unification. It's about connecting with the ultimate reality and experiencing a sense of deep peace and bliss.
Wow, that sounds pretty amazing.
It is, and the source uses a beautiful analogy to illustrate how all of these pieces fit together. They compare it to the bird of Tantra.
The bird of Tantra, I like that. Tell me more.
So imagine spirituality as the bird itself, representing that inherent upward striving. Then Prout is one wing, providing the necessary socioeconomic support and stability, and neo-humanism is the other wing, offering ethical and intellectual guidance. And this magnificent bird is soaring towards the supreme entity along a path paved with pure bliss.
I love that image. It really brings the whole concept to life. So it's like Prout and neo-humanism are both essential for this spiritual journey. They provide the foundation and the direction.
Exactly. And the key takeaway is that all three of these elements need to work together in harmony. You can't just focus on one or two and neglect the others.
Like a three-legged stool. You need all three legs for it to stand up.
Exactly. And when all three legs are strong and balanced, then we can truly soar towards that ultimate state of bliss and fulfillment.
This has been such an inspiring deep dive. It's really given me a lot to think about. And I hope it's done the same for you, our listeners.
Me too. I think this vision of a future built on Prout neo-humanism and spiritual practices is incredibly progressive and optimistic. It's a future that I think we can all aspire to.
Absolutely. And the amazing thing is that it's not just some distant utopia. It's something that we can start working towards right now in our own lives and in our communities.
Exactly. And that brings me to a really important point for all of you listening. If this deep dive has resonated with you, if you're feeling inspired to learn more and to get involved, there's a fantastic way to do that.
Okay, tell us more.
Join a Prout study circle. It's a great way to connect with like-minded individuals, delve deeper into the principles of Prout, and explore how you can contribute to building this new world order that we've been talking about.
That's a great idea. It's a chance to really take this from theory into practice and to start making a difference.
Exactly. Because ultimately, this threefold approach with Prout addressing our socioeconomic needs, Neohumanism expanding our psycho-intellectual horizons and spiritual practices, guiding our inner journey, working together in complete harmony, holds the transformative power to guide humanity towards a state of ultimate bliss. It's a profoundly meaningful journey, and I sincerely hope you'll consider taking that next step.
It's a journey that we can all embark on together. And who knows, maybe we'll even see each other at a Prout study circle sometime.
That would be wonderful. So until then, keep diving deep, keep exploring, keep growing, and keep striving for that brighter future.
See you next time.
Take care.